And I've been getting heaps of emails that people really want me to cover more of this sovereign issue, and so I'm listening, and I am. And today I have Derek Hill that will join the call very shortly, and he is basically practicing his sovereignty here in Ontario, and we're going to discuss everything from buying property for next to nothing and owning it free and clear, property and all, no taxes, to cashing in speeding tickets as they are legal tender, to the awful plight that he had to endure while he was in jail. Derek, are you there yet?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm kicking.
Hey there. How you doing today? Thanks for coming on the show.
No problem. Glad to be here.
Excellent. Now, I just want to let everybody know, too, as far as I know, after this show on today on Monday, Wednesday, I have a woman by the name of Linda coming in to talk feminine womb healing and stuff like that. And then Friday, we're going to have Dean Clifford coming on the show, as far as I know, with Derek, and they're going to do a little bit of a tete-a-tete between each other, all things sovereign. So look into tuning into that show as well. All of my shows. Don't just listen to one. Listen to them all, because I told you to. Yeah. Anyway, okay. So, anyhow, I just wanted to say again, hi, Derek. Thanks for coming on the show, and let's get started on your take on what you're going through sovereign-wise. Where would you like to start? Would you like to start with how you got into all this to begin with, which is student loans, and a lot of people are going to want to hear this?
Yeah, well, what I was going to do is I was just going to be telling people about how I got into all this stuff, you know, all the trials and errors that I did, and all the things that I've done. And after that, then I'll be talking about a lot of success stories according to chronological order.
That sounds fantastic. Nothing better than a well-prepared guest. So go ahead.
I just go along with the flow, so I'm rarely prepared for anything. I just take it and leave it. But, so yeah, I first got into this movement by looking at my first statements from student loans, and it was 49 grand, and I thought to myself, I'm not going to be able to pay this off, right? Because my aunt kept telling me, you know, you shouldn't take out a student loan because you're going to spend the next 25 years paying it off. And well, she was right. It was accruing almost $1,200 a month just for the interest alone, and I just said that's unreasonable. I cannot deal with that. And it was just getting higher and higher and higher. So I started looking for some possible remedies, maybe some legal loopholes and so on and so forth. And someone sent me a link to Rob Bernard, and I checked out Rob Bernard, and you know, all the things that he was saying kind of resonated with me because I was a rebel back then, and I didn't really care a whole lot about the police and so on and so forth. So I started listening to what he had to say, and then when he talked to the student loan, I was like, shit, I hit gold. All right. So I started really, you know, paying attention to what he was doing, and I asked for some of his help, and he sent me a couple of documents, which was just a simple notice to the National Student Loan Center for our version. For Ontario, BC is a little bit different. But I sent him a notice, you know, just kind of throwing in a little bit of Rob Bernard logic, and it didn't go anywhere. It did not go anywhere at all. And I was
just to interrupt you briefly, this is a problem that I'm seeing coming from a lot of Menard's work, and I think everybody starts there. I think like the first thing that we're watching is what 96 is the fix is one of the first things that we watch, and then we move on from there. And this is something that people need to know. There's a lot of Menard stuff that just doesn't work because the homework isn't really put into it. And it's not that I'm trying to bash him, but good intentions just don't make enough. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, and I agree. You know, I'm grateful that Rob Bernard was the person that got me into all this stuff. Unfortunately, he only did step one. He's missing step 2, 3, 4, and 5. You know, he he puts in a couple basic things and he hooks you with that, like the definition of a person or a driver's or driving. You know, those definitions alone is enough to hook you in there. So
yeah, definitely, that's exactly what it is. But again, at the same time that we don't want people to be spoon-fed the information, they have to look for themselves. The people that are giving the information have to be responsible with what they're giving. So continue.
Yes. So moving on, when I kind of gave up on the notice, I tried to look for another way out, right? Another possible route that I can take to take care of this, you know, because I was talking to some people who actually work at OSAP, the OSAP office, and they said, you know, you can apply for interest relief, you can apply for extended non-repayment status and all that stuff. And I was like, yeah, but that's not doing anything. That's still just putting it behind the books. So I had to really start looking for a possible remedy to really take care of this, to make it go away permanently. So I sent an email to Rob Menard, and Rob was asking some money. And that's when I kind of drew the line. And I said, well, I can't do this anymore. You know, I spent way too much money. And when I did the student loan, I was sending in my, you know, claim of right, notice of understanding and intent, all that stuff. But it never went anywhere. So after I started looking elsewhere, I started really looking into their own legislation, which is the Student Loans Act. And it's been a while, actually. But I believe you can read the Student Loans Act. It's very short and it's pretty revealing. One of these sections talks about how if default happens, then they can use funds from the Consolidated Revenue Fund in order to take care of it, to achieve payment. So I thought that was pretty eye-opening. So I started looking into some of the acts more in depth, and so I tried to apply some remedy. Unfortunately, I still didn't get anywhere, and that's when I met a good friend of mine, and he started telling me about securities, on how you're supposed to send in a security for payment. So that's when I started looking into how I can use securities and send it for tendered as payment. So that's when someone linked me a link to Doug Riddle's A for V. Okay, the A for V didn't work for me. It only worked once, and that was with the IRS, and they sent a link, or they sent a letter back at me saying we can only do this once, but we suggest you just take it up with CRA. So right there, I didn't know at the time, but right there gave solid proof that CRA and IRS is just different jurisdictions. They have the same goals, and they still run by the IMF, which is evidenced by their own IRS code. So after I started looking into the A for V, I started looking at the basic principles on why A for V should work. So I went back to square one. I just tried to apply it basic, just to put it as simple as possible, so I would understand everything that's being put in there. Okay. So I sent that in. Still didn't go anywhere, right? And then when I sent that in, I was while I was waiting for it, I was dealing with police stuff, and I was practicing other things, and I had a lot of balls. I had a lot of courage, and
which seems to be what's necessary in this situation. And that's what I admire, is that you just say, I don't care. I'm going to do what I have to do, and it doesn't matter what happens in the end. I'm just going for it.
Yeah, it's a duty almost. It's a duty to do something right. So that's when I started looking into a couple of nifty tricks on dealing with the police. So me and my friend, I purposely told him to go over the speed limit, because I would told him if anything happens, I'll pay for the speeding ticket. So he got a speeding ticket, and it was a $75 charge. Okay, and so when he got it, he just gave it to me right away, and then I signed it and endorsed it properly. So we went to the bank the very next day, and I went up to the court clerk and I said I want to cash in the speeding ticket. And she did the Justin Bieber thing, fling her hair and shit like that. And she said, you can't cash in the speeding ticket. You can't do that. And I said, well, according to the Bills of Exchange Act, states that this is clearly a bill of exchange on the top left corner, and according to your own, according to the Financial Administration Act, it states that a bill of exchange is in fact money or a negotiable instrument, and according to the Bank Act, it states that a negotiable instrument properly endorsed is in fact a security, and you take securities. So I want to get paid for this speeding ticket. So we pretty much went back and forth for like a few more minutes, and then she said, I'm going to have to call the cops. So she called the cops. It's amazing because, every time an average Joe calls the cops, it takes about a half hour to an hour, but when a bank calls it, they're there in less than 10 seconds. So when the police shows up, right, police says what's going on, and I told them, I'm just trying to cash in the speeding ticket. And they do the Justin Bieber thing. And like, I hope people know what I mean by the Justin Bieber thing.
They're flicking their hair because they don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Like,
I don't even know the Justin Bieber thing, but I get it.
Okay. You get the mental picture.
Yeah, for sure.
So, they told me, you're going to have to leave or you'll be arrested. And I said, well, okay, fine. I'm just letting you know what the law is, and if you touch me, then you accept full commercial liability for the actions that you're about to impose upon me. I couldn't finish saying that, and they said, fuck it, let's leave. So they left. So I went back to the court clerk. Court clerk said that she's going to get her manager. And so the manager comes out, said the same thing, exactly the same thing. She pulls Justin Bieber for the third time. And she said that, what did the police do? And the police pissed their pants and left. So she said, I just cashed the damn thing, just get the hell out of the bank. So we made $75 off the speeding ticket. That was my first success story. So after
and I have to say this out loud because I've said it a couple times and it just sounds more fun every time I say it. So getting a speeding ticket, people, it's now a sport. And we should be looking at it like, obviously you want to act honorably, but there's some tickets out, that are just ridiculous. So if you get a ticket, from now on, treat it like a sport. Stand your ground, get your money, walk out, and flipping the bird on the way out. Okay, yeah. I had my say.
So, yeah, so my second time, which I still didn't receive a response from my student loan, the second time I ran into the police, I just came back from Nutrition House and I picked up some hemp oil, right? Because I had a nasty medical condition and I had to get some hemp oil and help relieve it at the time. And so one of the cops just pulls on by. They're like, I'm on the sidewalk where people wait for the public transportation. Oh, excuse me. And this cop rolls up like he's balling or some shit, and he tells me, that's against the law, right? To have that medication. And I said, under what law? And I was still kind of riding a little bit on the Rob Bernard boat, explaining what the law is and so on and so forth and etc. Right. And he just gets out of his car and he says, you want to get paid, boy? And I said, well, you can do that, but there's 25 people watching you, watching a police officer incompetent in performing his duties to address some of the questions and concerns that I have. And since you can't question it, you have lack of jurisdiction. You don't have jurisdiction over me. And so he just arrested me. He just threw me in the car, and we went
under duress.
Yeah, obviously under duress.
Obviously, yeah.
So he processed me and all that stuff, and when he tried to get me to sign, I didn't sign anything. So he pops me in the jail cell, and about 2 hours after, you hear one of the chiefs, Windsor police chiefs, comes running in, and this guy had one donuts too many. This guy was a heavyweight, and you can hear him taking his heavy steps. So he told me that I was free to go, and when I was picking up all my stuff there, he tried to get me to sign, and I told him not signing at all. And he told me, aren't you that guy that filed his claim of right? And I said, well, thanks for reminding me. I believe my fee schedule is $250 an hour for false imprisonment or forcible confinement, stuff like that.
Right.
And so after bickering and dandling and doodling around there, he finally disappeared in the room, and he came back with a $500 personal check. So I took the $500 personal check and I went to the bank, and the clerk noticed that it was the Windsor police chief, and she asked me how I did it. And I said, it's probably stuff that you won't understand. So that's how I made $500 off the police force.
It's fantastic.
For 2 hours of service. So,
and nobody would ever think of this. And they actually paid you, though. That's the part that most people don't get. You were actually paid.
Yeah. And so after that, I was released, and there was some stuff that happened in between with the provost marshal. But I'm not going to be getting into that because that's a whole other can of worms, and I really don't feel like explaining it.
Sure.
But I got released and I went home. So a few days after, I finally got something in the mail from the student loan. Didn't go through, right? So I asked one of my friends that I had on my Skype, and I said, what's wrong with this? And he said, okay, we're supposed to do it this, and this. So I did it this way, and he explained why it's the way it is, right? Because it's a private.
Can you do me a favor and explain a little bit to the listeners so that they understand what the differences were that you had to change in order to make it go through?
Yeah, I'll explain that when I'm actually going into the remedies.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's all right. I'm just like kind of blowing through my life story. So, but after I'm done my life story, I'll spend more time to actually get into the remedies.
All right, then go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
That's all right. So I sent it in revised and stuff like that, and within a week and a half, I got something back right away, and I noticed that there was no payment field, and I said, holy shit. So I cracked it, right, meaning opening the envelope, and I saw the adjustment for $49,000. See, when you take care of a student loan with the A through D style, what you will see is you will see a payment for the same amount of whatever you owe, and you'll see an adjustment. So if you owed $49,000, you'll see an adjustment of negative $49,000. So
right.
And and I know for a fact that this works because I witnessed it myself, and I did it on myself, and I did it for other people for CRA bills. So after I got that taken care of, I was what's that popping noise?
Pardon?
There was a popping noise. Like,
that might have been my keyboard.
It sounds like it's a Facebook chat bot or something.
Oh no, I don't hear that.
See, it just happened again.
I don't hear it.
Okay, anyways, I'm just losing it. But
we've all been there.
So after me spending a day just staring at my student loan in disbelief that it's actually gone and taken care of, I kind of went on with my own business. And it was about January last year. I decided to go buy a park that we have in Windsor. Yes.
It might be the popping in the Tango chat on the Freethink site. You can actually mute it. That might be what you're hearing.
Yeah, I'm just looking for where's the mute button. That's what I want to know.
Right underneath the chat box on the left-hand side, there's a little speaker.
Gotcha.
There you go. Just quick, you're listening to freethinkradio.com. Again, this is Lifting the Veil. I'm your host, Carrie Lee, and we're here with Derek Hill talking all things sovereignty, which is basically right now getting your money back from the government and having them pay you for things. But anyway, continue.
Okay, so I was going by the park, and I ran into two officers that was hassling a guy. And a guy decided to go over, and I asked the officers what's going on, you know, or like, are you harassing this guy? What's he being interrogated for? And they told me it was like none of my business, and et cetera, and so forth. You know, the traditional bullshit that they always give you to tell you to leave. So I just looked at the guy and said, you know, under the Criminal Code of Canada, as a peace officer, I can act as a warden to guard and safeguard and protect your human rights. Do you consent for me to act as a peace officer on your behalf to take care of this matter? The guy just gave me like a what the fuck face, say sure, right? So I looked at the police officers. And and I said, you know, since I'm now a peace officer, I'm above you, so please state your business with this man. So they told me, you know, if you don't leave, that you'll be arrested. And I said, you can't arrest a peace officer. They have sovereign immunity.
I'm sure they didn't like that too much.
Well, yeah, you know, these people were probably going on a fucking power trip. But yeah, so they did their power trip. You know, they arrested me. They were about to process me, right? They were getting all the paperwork ready and stuff like that. And the sheriff, the same guy I had to deal with me last time, right? He was hitting a corner and he just caught me right before the wall starts. And he went up to the cops there and he says, you know, why is this guy doing here? And I went blank. Oh yeah, and the officers pretty much told him that, you know, he was obstructing justice and BS and all that shit. And the sheriff pretty much flat out said, I don't give a shit, release him. So they released me. So that's how, that's pretty much from there on forth there, they just never really bothered me all that much.
Okay, on that note quickly, just for all the listeners, we're not taking calls right now. There's a chance we might have the time to take calls between 2 and 2:30. I'm running the show a little bit later than I normally do, but I'm not going to guarantee anything right now. We just want to get information out. And like I said, around 2 o'clock, if we can take calls, we will. I just want Derek to be able to explain his experiences at this time, so I hope everybody understands. Go ahead, Derek, continue.
Mm-hmm. So that's when I really like started taking into all this stuff, because, you know, despite you know, catching a speeding ticket, dealing with police, getting paid, all that stuff, back then that was like fucking huge news, because at that time people on the Think Free forums and the World Freeman Society, they were trying to get some of this shit to work, right? And they couldn't get any of it to work. So right. For just the fact that I managed to get all of this stuff working kind of really set in after a bit. So after that, I decided to put my attention towards financial things. So I started crafting a couple of things such as promissory notes and money orders, and I was trying to apply my knowledge. So I printed out three money orders. And I tried to pick up a car, I tried to pick up a house, and I tried to pick up a couch from Tepperman's. I got the couch, but I didn't get the car. And the reason why I didn't get the car is that when I sent it in and sent in the payment and tendered it, all they had to do was send it off to the Ministry of Finances. It was properly endorsed and all that stuff. And they would have had their payment. But the guy called me right the day before I was supposed to go pick up my hybrid. He said that they decided to not go through with that deal. So I was like, well, what the hell? You know, all you guys got to do is just send out the Ministry of Finance. It's not like you're giving me the car. You can keep the car as long as you want. You know, when you get the payment, just send the, you know, give me a call. That's all. Excuse me. So when and that was on my way going to see a house. So I went to go see a house, and there was this old lady and her lawyer, right? And I showed the lawyer the money order with the proper authority and all that thing and all that fun bag stuff, right? So the lawyer told the old lady, which I assume was her client, that, you know, it looks legit. It looks like it's a legitimate security. And this is the part that pissed me off, right? Because I was only like 22 years old, and she said no. She said no because I'm 22 years old, and she felt that a 22-year-old guy should not own a house because I didn't work for it. So that's off beyond belief. So I could have had a house when I was 22 years old, but the lady didn't accept it because I was too young, which was a huge piss off. So after I was dealing with that stuff there, some of my relatives started getting problems.
Your relatives had problems?
Yeah. And,
with like just financial stuff?
Well, my aunt had two big problems. The CRA bill that was like $265K, and the property taxes she couldn't pay off. So either way,
she was damned if she do, damned if she didn't.
Yeah. So either way, she was kind of screwed, right? Because if she paid, then she would have lost her house because CRA leaned everything. So so I went up to my aunt, you know, still feeling $1 million that I took care of my student loan, right? So I came in with like a grim smile, and I say, hey, you know, Tina, I can take care of that for you if you want. And,
not to mention a hell of a lot of confidence now, and there's nothing better to work with, other like confidence and victory side by side. You're rocking. Yeah,
I was like rocking. I thought I was fucking unstoppable at that time.
For sure.
So, yeah. So I took care of her. I took care of her tax bill the same way that I did with mine. And it was about 3 weeks after they gave her a call, right? And I forgot to mention to her, you know, if CRA calls, don't pick up, or as soon as you find out who it is, you know, just hang up, right? And damn, I'm having a brain fart right now. Okay, so
it's all good.
Yeah, so they did call. She just said that she was busy, right? She had other things to do. She can't talk. And they asked, you know, what time is a good time to call back, and she said never.
Nice, good for
her.
I
thought that was pretty blunt, and my aunt is not really all that blunt. So, that's when she called me. She called me right after, and she told me, you know, what happened and what she said. And I said, next time they call, just don't pick up, or as soon as you find out who it is, just hang up. So they called once more about a month after, roughly. This was around March, and they tried to recontract. And she just pretty much hung up on the phone. And then about a month after, they got they sent her a statement stating that the balance was zero. So $265K was gone, and they sent the papers that they released all liens.
And that was just by her basically not getting into negotiations with them and ignoring them.
And well, sending an A for V on the initial security.
Right. Okay.
You send in an A for V and they tried to call, just hang up. or if they try to send you a letter saying that it's not as frivolous though, but saying that they're still trying to collect or whatever, they're threatening you with other things, then you know, that's when they're trying to recontract. But if they say that something like this is not the security we're looking for, or we cannot process the security as is not negotiable, then normally those are the things, those are the letters that you want to pay close attention to, because they're giving valuable information. They're not denying you; they just said you can't take it. You can't take it. You know. For example, if it's like non-negotiable, that means don't sign it in a specific capacity, right? You're supposed to freely endorse it, so it's negotiable, so you can negotiate with anyone. If you restrict it, or if you put in like authorized representative and all that crap, then you're making it non-negotiable, as they can't sell that back to the IMF. Sure, you're sending it back to CRA. The CRA can't take that and put it back into the IMF. So there's a reason why you have to give it free endorsement.
Okay.
So you have to pay attention to what they say. So, and that was with the CRA bill. Nothing really happened. Everything was relatively quiet until the summer when I decided to go back for school. Right? And
right.
yeah, and that's when I went and applied and for the Ontario colleges, you know, all that crap they have to do for Ontario.
Now this is the funny thing, because you'd already null and voided your last the payments that you were supposed to make, your last student loan. You were reapplying for yet another one.
Yeah.
And go ahead, continue with the story, because this just baffles me.
Yeah, and it's actually quite funny, and Carrie, you have those documents because I sent it to you, so you can attest to that. And so I went and applied for the student loan again. You know, got it somewhere in the middle of July, and then I told them to send me a statement, right? They said, well, you're not in repayment, so we can't send you a statement, but we can just let you know what's on it. And I said, well, it doesn't matter as long as you attach some type of security on there. And so, you know, he sent it, of course. And so I got it about a week and a half, 2 weeks after. It was they sent it to me on August the 3rd, 2010. And 2010. And so as soon as I got that, I took care of it, and I applied the A4V, and I sent it off around in the middle of August, right?
Right.
And after I sent it off, you know, didn't hear anything back until the beginning of September. In the beginning of September, I got something around like September the 5th, saying that the account was balanced, meaning it was zeroed out, right?
Right.
So, yeah. Well, sorry. So it was like the 3rd or something like that. Let me check. Actually, I got it right here. So, anyways, it was like in the first week of September, and 2 days after I started school. So I started. So I got the thing for September the 3rd or whatever, and I took care of the student loan, and I received a confirmation that I did, and then I started school a few days ago. So by the time I started school, I already took care of my student loan.
That's fantastic. And I mean, anybody who's listening is going to be like, okay, well, how do I do that? And this is the thing. It can't just be spoon-fed to you. You can get so much information, but you got to do a lot of the groundwork yourself.
Yes, indeed. So that's, you need to understand why A4V works. So, oh yes, it was...
Now, is there a link for A4V or anything that you can send? Because some people are saying, well, we've never heard of this before.
Well, because there is a reason. A4V is a private remedy. Not too many people releases it because I don't mean to insult anyone, but you know, if someone fucks it up, then they're going to cause a lot of problems for the other people who are actually doing it right, and it's just going to be more headaches. And so it's better for you to just actually understand. And when you understand why A+B works, you can back it up yourself, and you don't need to pay someone else or ask someone else's help to pretty much spoon feed the process throughout the whole entire duration. So yeah, so I received a statement. It was September the 3rd, 2010, and there was no due date, and I started school on September 7th. So 4 days after I was starting school, and I already took care of my student loan. So that was, yeah, and that was for the whole year, not the first semester. No, not just the first semester. So,
so the entire year paid for. Thank you very much, and I'm going to take my education and run with it now.
Yeah. So after I was enrolled, I was kind of laying low and stuff like that, and then I had shenanigans that happened in London, and this is where the severe beating came in. I went in to London to help someone.
Sorry.
You were going to say something?
No, I was just going to prepare everybody for this story because this story kind of disturbed me quite a bit. So go ahead.
Well, maybe you should give them a warning, because
that was my warning. I was disturbed, so you can continue now.
Okay, so I went to London to help one of my buddies do a couple of things to try and take care of this driving issue that he had for a while there, and he sent in a notice to the mediator saying if he was acting as a judge, then he would demand the judge's oath, and the mediator, I'll just call him the mediator. The mediator guy, he said that the request was denied. And we have proof that he was acting as a judge because I don't know if people ever went to settlement meetings, but they show a list of who's going to be the mediator, and who's the parties they are, right? So, so that's when we knew that we were dealing with someone who was claiming they were a judge, right? And by law, by the Administrations Act, it states that all judges must have an oath or a bond, and a bond could be interpreted as an oath depending on how much knowledge you have. So the judge did not provide his oath. There could be a couple of screw-ups. There could be a couple of reasons why he had to, because maybe it was a private settlement or a private meeting. Maybe that's one of the reasons why. Nevertheless, he didn't do it. And so he told me that he didn't want to hear from me. He told me he didn't want to hear from me, and that's when me and my buddy there pretty much got really serious and said, you still haven't provided the oath there, because we were questioning him because he was trying to give legal advice to the other party. Something like he said a comment, something about you should know what an order looks like, because the order that was issued to seize my friend's car was actually forgery. And when he requested a copy of that order, it was actually 2 different signatures, and the first order had a different signature than what the actual office was. So it was like the signature was like John Doe, but the actual name under it was like Bob Smith. I don't know the exact names, but you guys get the idea. So we were kind of getting serious, saying, hey, where is your oath? And so we got pretty serious, and he kept saying, I don't want to hear from you. You're not this person we're speaking to. So I looked at my friend, and I told him, look, you got any ID so I can talk for this account? And he slowly emerged his World Freeman Society ID, and I just looked at him with a nice long stare, and I just slowly went left to right and said, no. That's a very bad thing. And so he gave me his health card, right? And I pretty much just slammed it on the table and said, "Look, here's my friend, and now you're gonna have to talk to me because now I'm holding it." So that's when he started threatening me. You know, I'm gonna leave. You should leave now, or you'll be charged with trespassing, right? And I told him, "But you have no authority over here. You haven't provided evidence that you're a judge, so you're impersonating a public official." And that's when he tried to tell the constable to escort me out, right? And I told the constable, I said, you can't listen to that order. He's not a public official. He's personating. Constable, I want you to arrest that man for impersonating a public official and breach of trust. And so that's when the fucking judge just went ape shit, right? Fucking throwing shit all over the place, throwing his shit all over the place, throwing some random person's shit all over the place. And then he pretty much just told the constable to arrest me for trespassing, right? And so that's when I turned over to the constable, and I told the constable, like, look, you can't do that. You can't. You don't even know what authority that you can arrest me under as, right? And he told me, you know, it's the Public Works Act, and I said that's a 1938 legislation that was made in World War II. That's a wartime legislation. You can't enforce that in peacetime. And that's when the constable got really pissed off, because now I'm questioning his authority. And when you question authority, same thing with jurisdiction. When you question jurisdiction, you're going to piss some people off.
Yeah. It's a lot of ego wanking.
So yeah, so that's when I realized that the judge was making this escape like a friggin' ninja, throwing a smoke bomb down. I turned to him, and then the constable took my arm. And you know how police officers always try to yank your arm so you would resist? Yeah, that's what happened to me. He pulled me up, and I was like pretty much jumping in the air because he lifted me up so hard, and I had to just really push it back down because he was going to pop my arm. And then that's when he turns me around and he grabs me with his hand, and he choke slams me around the table. He choke slammed me so hard that I had a hard time breathing. I had to keep him off from me. So after you know, that bamboozle started happening there, it was like maybe 15 seconds, not even. You see my friend come running in, and he's just like, "What the fuck is going on? What did you do?" You know, like that kind of expression. And
right.
Sorry, go on.
No, I just said right. I was just agreeing, and sorry, I'll shush.
Okay. So that's when he started yelling, you know, "I'm witnessing your assault, I'm witnessing your assault," and stuff like that. And you know, the guy that was on top of me, strangling me, is Gordon Publicover. He's a London peace officer, or that's what he claimed. Excuse me. That's when you know, that's when, like, I was trying to get his arm off of me. And that's when he said, you know, "I should charge you with assaulting a peace officer." And, you know, with a grasp of air, you know, I told him, like, what did I say? I said, I told him, "You can try," you know. And so I finally managed to pull off one of his arms, right? And as soon as I pull out the other arm, he fucking comes lunging in with the other arm. So I was right back to strangulation, and at that time I was blacking out and losing my strength, right? So after that, he dragged me across the table, and this guy's huge. This guy's 300 pounds, 6'8" or something like that. He's a fucking huge guy. And so he was dragging me, and then right on the edge of the table, he picked me up in midair, and then he just choke slammed me right onto the carpet, right? And it's that kind of carpet that's really thin. So when he slams me down, I got the wind knocked out, and I couldn't breathe because he was still strangling me. So that's when I got really serious, and that's when I really started the fight. So and he called for backup too. And,
well, here, I just want to interrupt for a second, because this is the point. Now you're saying, oh, that, you know, I finally started to fight. Yes, because that's what we humans do when we're being attacked to the point of being killed. When you're being strangled and the life force is being choked out of you, what do they expect you to do? But anyway, continue. They called for backup.
Yeah, well, he called for backup, and then as soon as he got off the little mic thing, he put both of his hands on me. He's still strangling me. I couldn't really defend myself anymore, so I was blacked out. Terry told me that I was purple. My eyes were bloodshot. So and that's when you know that you're on the brink of death. And to me, in my eyes, just like what a lot of people that was there, that was surrounding that event, they all agreed with me that it was attempted murder on their part. Because if you're trying to arrest someone, you don't strangle him, you know. Yeah. You don't strangle him to the point that he's like dying. And I'm like 5'8", 120 pounds. I'm like a fucking Gandhi here. I'm not going to be putting up a good fight. So that's when all the people came in. And, you know, I think it's fucking funny because, you know, he calls for backup. This guy's clearly handling it just fine. But he feels the need to call for backup. So, like, 10 people show up, right? And so, yeah, so that, when I blacked out, the last thing I saw was all the people surrounding me, and that's when I just blacked out. So from this little section, this little area, I'm running off of memory from what my friend told me, because I had no memory during this time. So it was about like 10 seconds though. But my friend told me that they just picked me up, kind of threw me against the wall and threw the cuffs on me. And then that's when they dragged me. Right across the carpet to go into the basement, right? And I think it's funny because on the charge it says that while they're trying to pull me out of the room, it said that I was throwing things, I was throwing sharp objects, and yet I have about 4 witnesses saying that I was passed out, I was not moving, and my legs were dragging on the floor. So that is bullshit, and they're secure, and there's video for that too. So I got them on that lie easily. So so that's when I started coming to when they were putting me into the elevator. So when they threw in the elevator, Ross is one of the public officers. I didn't catch his full name there, but Ross, he told me, you know, he said something that you ain't so fucking tough now, and I said I never said I was tough, but apparently you guys have an issue of not liking to show your weakness because you're the one that had to call 10 people to handle a little guy like me. That's when he fucking went on like a rage trip. So as soon as we got into the basement, he pretty much grabbed my neck and threw me against the wall side by side, right? And he told me I should charge you for damaging public property. And I said, you just wait a second. You can only charge me for trespassing on private property. When did it become private? And when did it become public? So he told me to shut the fuck up, right? You know how these people are. They always just tell you to shut the fuck up because that's the only thing they can say. That's the only thing.
Because they have no education. They have no education in any of it. They're nothing but drones that do what they're told.
Yeah. So we get to the center where they process things temporarily, right? And you know, the same guy that's still holding me by my neck pretty much just throws me against the wall and keeps me there, right? And I told him, you know, ease up on the neck there. And he told me to shut the fuck up. Like it's like their favorite quote is "shut the fuck up." And so that's you know, when they threw my skull against it, that's when they broke my nose, and that's when I started bleeding from the nose. And I still have jaw problems to this day because they slammed me against the wall that hard. So they went through my all of my ID, right? And they were going through all that stuff, and you know, when they pulled out my ID, they said the name, right? And the guy went up to me and said, "What's your name?" And I said, "You just got the ID. Why are you asking? You gotta know something's up, right?" Because, you know, I'm not fucking stupid. If they have my ID and they still ask me for the name, they're obviously looking for oral agreement, right? Clearly. So that's when so that's the first time when I really clued in and say these guys aren't 100% brain dead, but there's still a good portion of brain dead in there. So after they did a little bit of processing there, they brought me down the hall, and that's when the London cops came in, and one of the guys was still going through my ID, right? And he asked me for my name, and I said, buddy, you have a birth certificate, you got all the ID, why do you need to still ask for a name? And he didn't say anything. He was actually very quiet. And I get this fucking retard in the back of me still talking about all that shit, and he had the nerve to say that one of the things that he said to the officer was he had the nerve that I took 3 officers down and stuff like that. And I stared at them. There's going to be video on that, and if you put that in a testimony or a statement, I'll be having everything you have for tort damages, right? I can only say maybe 1/4 of that, and he told me to shut the fuck up and look at the wall, and I told him I don't take orders from public servants, and he got pissed off even more. So what he did is he put me against the wall again in front of the London cop, which was a witness, again, and told me that if I talk again, he's gonna show me what police brutality is. And I said, thanks for admitting future crimes. Now I got an intent established, right? And so he pretty much left. The London cop there pretty much took me in, threw me in the car, and all that shit. It was just a quiet ride. No, me and him didn't talk. And so he brought me into the processing center for the actual London jail. And that's when oh man, train of thought is lost. That's when oh my god, I just lost it. Oh yeah, so that's when they tried to process me and all that stuff, right? And they're asking me questions about Constitution, all that stuff, blah blah blah. I pretty much told them that if you really did follow the Constitution, you wouldn't be able to arrest me in the first place. And so they just threw me in the jail cell. I'm gonna try and speed up this process, or speed up this story. I know I've been going a little slow.
No, it's okay.
But
you know what? Honestly, I'm more interested right now, and I think the listeners are too, to listening to your story. Friday, and I want to stress this for everybody. Friday will be more of Derek and Dean, hopefully, talking amongst themselves and then taking some calls. But for now, let's just get the story heard. So go ahead, continue.
Okay. So they threw me in the jail cell, right? And, well, before they threw me in the jail cell, they said that I have the right to a lawyer, and I said, no, that's wrong. I have the right to a counsel. And I don't need a constitution to know that. And so that's when they threw me in the jail cell, right? And
right.
They were actually going through my phone too, because they apparently had software to break through the lock on my phone. And so that's when they started calling people. Right when I got my phone back, they made like fucking 80 calls trying to find out who I was, because I never said who I was, right?
Mhm.
So so what I was.
This is the point where they were calling your friends and asking them to give information.
Yeah. So when I was in the jail, I was in the jail cell for a bit. I don't know, because there was no time. One of the guys that came and got me and got my fingerprints, and I told them flat out, and they said, it's $50,000 each picture for each side, and he said, take it up to civil court. And I said, by you continuing, you're agreeing to that contract on behalf of London Police. Just take it up in court. And so I said, okay, fine. So they took the mug shot, so that's $100,000 right there. And then I told them it was $20,000 per fingerprint, $50,000 per hand, right?
So 5 fingers on a hand, so that's 100 grand plus 50 grand for the hand, so that's 150 grand times 2, 300 grand. Sorry, it was 250 grand for each face mug shot. So that's 500 grand plus 300 grand for the hands and fingers. That's 800 grand. 800 grand just in 5 minutes. So they did that. They tried to get me to sign. I just put in without prejudice. And so they threw me back in the cell. It wasn't even 10 minutes, and they told me that someone called, right? And I found out it was my buddy Jeff from Windsor. So I explained him the story about all that shit, and as soon as I got off the phone, it was I found out that one of my friends was actually in there that does the same stuff. He just got in there too, right? So we started talking about it, and he saw the abrasions that was on my neck, and he said, "Man, you must have got strangled real good." And even at that time, I still had bloodshot eyes too. So
that's awful. I mean, if your eyes are that bloodshot, obviously they did a number to you.
Oh yeah, shit. Oh, that's not even. I didn't even go into the tasering, the beating yet.
I know.
And so that's pretty much all what happened for that night, right? We got shit food. We had a granola bar and black coffee, which is fucking disgusting. I don't even drink coffee in the first place.
Well, you were saying to me on the call the other night that the water even had black stuff floating around in it.
Yeah, the water that they have inside the jail cells actually had black spots. It was fucking disgusting. And when they first brought me in, I told them very clearly, I got hypothyroidism. I need to eat 7 times more often. So if I see only a fucking cracker, I'm going to go fucking ape shit, because you'll be responsible. So I told, so what did they do? They just bring in a granola bar, and I said, I can't fucking eat this. I got no saliva in my mouth. I need a goddamn apple. And he said, we don't have enough money for an apple. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? An apple is fucking 50 cents. You can go to the market and fucking pick one up. This granola bar, it costed you $1.25. There's a fucking price tag on it. An apple is cheaper. Don't bitch about me fucking not having money. Right?
Yeah.
But anyways, that's pretty much all that happened. The next morning, we didn't even get any we didn't even get any blankets or anything like that. We got a pillow and a fucking thin sheet. Around like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. Then we had to wake up at like 6:30, 7 o'clock to go and get transferred to the court, right? And and so they handcuffed me and my buddy together there when we got on a bandwagon, and it was like about a 10-minute ride there. And we had a couple of other people sitting in there too, so we started talking to them about some legal shit, right? And they completely agreed. They said they're fed up with fucking cops. They fucking hate them. They can't stand the bullshit. And so that's so when we got to the court, one of the officers mentioned a quick comment saying it's all about business, and I looked at the other guys and told them, they even admit it's just all about business. They don't give a shit about you. They just want money.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and so we got out there, and they put us against the wall, right? And the people that was the guys that was coming in, it was the same guy that was throwing my head against the wall, and when he got to me and my friend, or both of us weren't giving their names, and they said, "Oh, great, we got these fucking free man people, right?" And I said, just to keep in mind, I never said once that I was a free man. And this guy, as far as I'm concerned, never even said a word to you. So drop the assumptions. So he didn't like that, so he told me to fucking face the wall and put my hands on it, right?
Right.
And so when he asked my friend for his name again, right? Keep in mind, my friend got into a car accident, so he has a bad neck and he has a bad shoulder. And so he asked him for his name. He didn't respond, or he didn't say anything, right? And then Ross, the guy, that threw me against the wall with my head there, he said, you know what? Fuck this, I'm not playing around there. Go get the leg chains. So they put in the leg chains, right? And while they were putting the leg chains, my friend looked on the other side to the two people we were talking to. So you see, they're so desperate for the name, even though they got all the ID, they still want your name, right? And that's
because your name's verbal consent.
Yeah, and so when Ross there was still behind my friend there, Ross told him to shut the fuck up, right? And he asked for his name again, right? And he didn't answer at all. Like, he didn't say anything. So what did the JP do, or Ross did? He went down, he took the chain from the leg chains, and he threw it right up in the air, causing my friend to drop immediately with his legs pretty much handling in the air. And he was crying because he was in so much pain at that time, and that was uncalled for. And I told Ross flat out, saying, there's no need for you to do that. And the female JP behind me told me to shut up and look at the window, look at the wall. And I said, I don't take orders from public officials or public servants, right? And I just kept witnessing it, right? So that's when they pulled him from another jail cell, right? And and that's the last time that I saw him for this event. And after that, they threw me in the pit, right? So as soon as they threw me in the pit, I pulled the Rob Menard, right? As soon as I got in, it says, so who wants to know about some of their rights? And so you get, like, I got 3 people just look up at me, just paying attentively, right? So after that, I got, after I, gave them the story there, I was calming down, and then I noticed that I didn't even fucking eat at all for 24 hours. And I just, my hunger just really kicked into high gear, right? So I started, feeling extremely weak, and I was, passing out. Anyways, so I went to go see city council, and I specifically told them that I want to get the fuck out of here. They have no jurisdiction over me, and they know that. And so, we played the name game. She told me what the charges were, and all that bamboozle. So so she told me that you should be heard somewhere within an hour. So my first hearing, I went down there. They asked me for the name, and I said I'm not that name, or I'm not no, it was under. I said under duress. As soon as I said under duress, the same guy that strangled me yanked me out in the back room and threw me upstairs. And he made some sort of a comment saying throwing him in some room. I can't remember what it was called. So they threw me in a room where there was no cameras, right? And I said, shit, there's no cameras, man. This cannot be good. So that was the first time. The second time they pulled me out, right? And they're bringing me downstairs and all that shit there. And when the officer told me that he doesn't want any funny business or whatever, that if I pull any of that bullshit there, that they're going to be putting in the ball and chain there like a real prisoner, right? And I said, thank you for dehumanizing me. I'll be sure to keep that in mind for my lawsuit, right? Because that's a violation of human rights. You can't put a ball and chain on there. That's slavery.
Yeah. And
that's against human rights. So they propped me down there, right? And they put me in the witness box, right? And he asked me for the name, right? And I said under duress. Again, the guy yanked me out again. And they tried to bring me upstairs, but I passed out because I was too hungry. because I didn't eat anything, right? And
Right.
so when I passed out, they were like dragging me upstairs and they pinned me against the wall. And Ross asked me what's wrong with me, and I said I'm fucking hungry. I need something to eat. And he said throw a couple sandwiches, and I said sandwiches ain't gonna do shit. I can't even fucking drink. I can't even eat because I got no saliva. So they threw me in the jail cell again. And after I was like sitting down there, I seen six officers come up to me right in front of my jail cell, and all six of them came into my jail cell, and I said the only thing I said was like, "Oh shit," right? And so that's when they kicked the shit out of me. That's when they were using the book to stop the bruises and stuff like that. They were kicking me in the ribs. They kicked me in the jaw, and they kicked me in the ass too. It was like my tailbone was in fucking pain for like a good week, right?
Yeah, I believe it.
And one of the officers said, "You better cooperate next time you get pulled out." Right? And I said, "You know what? Hey, I'll do anything you want, but I'm going to be sending you a very big bill." And that's right after I got my ass fucking kicked, right? 6 officers fucking beating the shit out of someone who's completely defenseless. That's excessive force right there. That's huge. So it was not even 45 minutes after, the 6th officer comes back with tasers, and I said, "Jesus fucking Christ, am I going to die here?" Right? So they all come in, right, and they told me to look at the wall, and that's when they threw the 6 tasers all at me on my left shoulder. So I was convulsing for 45 minutes, right, and my heartbeat is still fucked up even to today. Right?
Oh, I can imagine. I can imagine that you have a lot of damage from what's happened. And not to interrupt, but we only have 20 minutes left in the show, just so that you know. Everybody's probably going, "Oh, but he's just getting started." I know.
Well, I'm almost done, so
I just want to repeat too that you are listening to freethinkradio.com. This is Lifting the Veil with Carrie Lee, and it's not like I'm just going to back off the subject because, I mean, it's important to me. Now, I don't think that because it's important to me, it should be important to you, but I kind of think you think that it is. So anyway, go ahead, Derek, continue.
So after they tased me, it was about 3 minutes after, when they were coming to get me, and I said, "You know what, fuck it, I'm just going to play along, and I'll just rescind it and revoke it." And so, I played along with their name game and shit like that, and one of the guys that was taking me in the back room, he leaned over and said, "You just go and sign," and I said, "You're fucking dead to me right now. Don't even talk to me. You're going to have a nice lawsuit coming at you for the bullshit that you put me through." And he said, "You better shut up before I put you back in there." And I said, "Just keep in mind, it's not a threat, it's a promise." So that's when I went to sign there, and I was still fucked up on the tasers. I just gave them a clean endorsement, just their name, right?
Right.
So that was pretty much it, right? So now my plan for dealing with that is I already sent in a discovery for that, requesting to show proof, pretty much what Dean does, right? And they still haven't responded, so I will have to put in a certificate of default. And once I get the certificate of default, they have no choice but to drop the case, because they would have no standing as they have no proof of claim, and they lost it in the certificate of default. And exactly like what Dean said, you take that certificate of default, and with me, what I go on is put in a statement of claims, solid, backed up with hardcore facts, with an unrebutted affidavit, and you're walking out with cash. So far, I'm just at $3.6 million, and that's just me being very generous.
Yeah, well, because I don't think you can put a price on what... the
bullshit
I don't think you can put a price on that, on what they did to you, honestly. I can't imagine going through it. But I mean, at the same time, I know I'd probably be fighting back myself because I'm one of those people that doesn't take shit from anybody, and it doesn't matter how big they are. So I completely, fully understand.
Yeah, I don't let that kind of shit go.
No. It's, you know, it's all about acting with honor, and they don't act with honor. You act with honor with me, I'll act with honor back to you, but the minute that you don't, then all bets are off, and that's kind of just the way that it goes. You have to show respect if you're going to be given respect. Respect isn't just an automatic thing, and especially not when you're talking about freaking law enforcement.
Exactly. So that's what I'm going to be dealing with. That I pretty much got this in the bag, right? And so after that, right, it was about March, exactly 1 year after. That's when my aunt got back into some of the remedies part. That's when my aunt got a property bill or a property tax bill. She couldn't take care of it, right? And she was about to lose her house. And I said, you know what? Just let me do the same thing as I did last time. So that's what I did. I did the same thing as last time. And again, it wasn't the last time, but to her it seemed like it was the last time, right? I do something magic, shit disappears. That's what she gets out of it, right? So, but what I really did is I just because she was about to be brought to court, and I said, let me take care of this, right? So I went into court, put in an ordinary promissory note and an envelope, and I told them that payment is tendered into court. And I put in an affidavit with that too, and they had to close the account. They actually forced the municipal to close the account because I was with prejudice and they couldn't come back. So that's how I took care of my aunt's property taxes, right? Nice short.
So now she never has to pay property tax again.
Yeah, they didn't bother going after her for this cycle. But
because they know better.
Oh yeah, it's just a fucking game. There's no point in playing the game if they always win, So I went away with on my like summer vacation. When I got back, this is kind of like big news for me, but it wasn't exactly so. But when I got back, right, I went to lunch with my girlfriend, and she said, Derek, you might be annoyed by this, but I'm pregnant. And I just kind of gave her a blank look, and then then the next look was like me, a deer looking at headlights, just an alarmed look, and I was like, you're shitting, right? So I was like, oh Christ, I'm going to start looking for land for myself now. So that's when I started investigating into these land patents, right? And I found out that land patents and getting a lawyer to file is ridiculously easy.
Okay, now this is very exciting. Everybody put your listening ears on and pay attention, because this is something we all have to do. You just have to. I don't order people around. You fucking have to do this, man. Okay, go ahead.
It's pathetic. It's disgustingly easy. That's how easy it is. 4 steps. Check this out, right? Check this shit out. Okay. First step. You gotta go to the land registry, and you have to look for available land. Available land is what I mean is if it's run by a bank, if it's held by a municipal, if it's unclaimed, or if it's abandoned. Those are the 4 statuses you can go after. If you see a status on that on a property that you want, you got step 1 completed. Step 2.
Now what are the 4 abandoned?
Abandoned, unclaimed. The other 2 I don't know the exact status, but one of them is repossessed. Okay.
Is it like a bank foreclosure?
Yeah, bank. Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. And then it's just gonna be municipal. I can't remember what it was under because I never saw the municipal one. But the guy at the land registry told me that those might be the 4 that they're looking for. He couldn't tell me exactly. He knew exactly what I was talking about, but he couldn't say it because he was in the public. So he gave me hints. And so that's what he told me. The next step 2, you have to do a survey. Okay, you have to find out exactly what the parameters of a survey is. I could go into more details with that on Friday, Right now,
Sounds good.
like I said, I'm just going through a general outline. So for the survey, you have to, establish the parameters, what's on it, what's the minerals like, where is the general location, is there an address with it, any and all available information that you have onto that, put it and file it into the record, okay? When you file something in the record with the land registry, they issue you a deed. That is what a deed is. It is a record with the land registry, okay? You can look that up on the Federal Real Properties Act, okay? It says right there what a deed is, okay? So, when you get the deed, that's step 3, okay? Is recording it. That's step 3. Step 4, you take the deed, okay? And you go to the forms that OLA has, which is Ontario Land Association, which, again, Carrie Lee, you have those documents. You've seen it.
Yes, I have.
And so you go and apply for the form, okay? You need to have the deed. That's why you must have the deed first. They won't even look at you if you don't have the deed. So you send in the deed with that application form, and they will issue you a federal land patent or a crown land patent grant, whichever you want to call it. AKA, it's an alloidal title, okay? It's free reign, and it's perpetual ownership, which means you own it forever and ever.
And it kind of means that it means also that that no one has any jurisdiction on your property.
Exactly, and it has no conditions.
So, does that affect your, let's say, your hydro or anything or like that, or is that separate from it?
No, it doesn't affect it. You can still pay the hydro bills if you want or whatever.
Yeah, okay. I was just curious about that. If it was everything contained on the land, or just the land itself with whatever house or buildings might be on it.
Depends on how far you want to push it. You could look at it that way. If there's a hydro already going there, you can look at it this way, saying any interruption can be seen as an act of trespassing. You can put it that way if you really want to get gutsy.
Yep, I gotcha.
So that's how you'll be able to obtain the alloidal title. So I gained 6 acres of land for $250, and with the $265,000 house on it for $250. I'm just waiting on the alloidal title. Should be here in about a week and a half. You get the alloidal title. Okay, lots of people have been saying it. The people who stays in the private. When you get the alloidal title, you will see a mailman with a briefcase that's attached to his wrist with a handcuff. It's that serious. It's serious shit. Yeah, it's $250 for 6 acres of land and a $265,000 house on it. So,
I was telling everybody on the panel at Freethink today about it, and it was like, okay, we got to hear what he has to say. And it's honestly, I could take. I don't mean. I mean, I still want to do a whole bunch of other stuff with my show, but I really want to concentrate on the sovereign issues right now because there's this seems to be the only way to any type of true freedom. And a house on 6 acres of land that's valued at over $260,000. Not that I even want.
The house,
sorry.
The house is $265,000. That's not even including the land.
Not including the property. Okay, so there. I mean, I don't even want to get into that because you're looking at almost probably $500,000 for all of it.
Yeah, probably. I don't know the exact percentage of an acre, but yeah, I wouldn't doubt it.
Now you look at that.
Land too.
This is the money shot for all of us. I mean, you don't have to get. I'm not saying that you're being greedy, so don't take it that way. You don't. I just wouldn't want to clean a $260,000 house. I really wouldn't. My parents owned like a $380,000 house when I was a kid, and I hated it because I had to help clean it, and it sucked.
Yeah. Well, good thing.
But at the same time, I don't want to be paying a mortgage, making other people rich the way that I am. This is something that I'm personally going to be looking into a lot more. John and I have decided that we're going to go this route. We're going to go look for the property like you're describing it, go through all the motions, and then once we have it, then we're going to put this one up for sale or whatever the case may be. Someone said, well, rent it. Well, no, because then that's a whole new bunch of problems that I don't want to have to deal with, to be honest. I'd rather just walk away from it altogether. We've got about 9 minutes left in the show. Where would we like to end this?
I actually just want to throw in an extra note. If you, like, when you look for land, I can't really explain how it works. But you're gonna have to actually go into the land registry. They will explain it. They'll explain it, no problem. They don't have any problems with that. But warning, bring your credit card, because you might be spending a few grand on this. Because sometimes if you're looking in at a busy area like Toronto, it's next to fucking impossible to try and get some land, because there's so many houses out there. It's fucking ridiculous.
Well,
so
I mean,
if you want to have a good shot, go in the country land, like where Claude is, or where Barry is. Barry's got a lot of land left still.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I mean, and this is, maybe I'm speaking for myself, but I notice a lot of people going this way with the movement, whether it be in the way of just wanting to live self-sustainably, or whatever the case is, getting off of the tit of the beast. We don't want to be in the city, because that's where all the shite is. So, I mean, anybody that turns around, I guess the best way to put it is act honorably, because if you don't, you're going to get fucked.
Yeah.
Act with honor. That's a huge thing nowadays that not enough people do. You don't act with honor, and you get screwed.
The most important thing is, like, I can't stress this enough, right? You have to make sure you enforce your rights, okay? You can't just enforce your rights once or twice and then expect them to go away. You have to be prepared, and you have to be ready to go at any time.
Yeah.
Because, you know, like, sure, you might, you know, when you get that land, but you know what? That's not going to stop a bank from trying to bulldoze you, trying to railroad you. You know, because you probably pissed them off. You probably just cut in from the revenue.
Right. So you're going to have a fight no matter what's going on, but it's worth the fight.
You might, yeah, you might. I'm not saying it's going to happen all the time, but there is a possibility. So just a fair warning, when you get into this land, depending on where you look, you might want to bring a credit card with a few $100 or $1,000, because it might take you a while. It's $7 per search.
Yeah, $7 per search, but if you're lucky and you might know some real estate agents that are friends that might want to be helpful to you, I know that my age bracket between 30 and 40, I'm 36 and I don't care, but anyway, in between that age bracket, a lot of our friends or acquaintances that we went to school with or whatever the case may be, they are now real estate agents or whatever. So, I mean, talk to people, put it out there that you want to look for, and don't tell them what you're doing, just tell them, listen, I want to find a house that was foreclosed on or whatever the case is, and work from there. You don't have to, yeah, okay, you're doing it shady, but you're just not giving all the information. So do what you have to without causing any harm on anybody else to get what you need.
Well, you know what? It's not shady. It's just legislation, and not too many people know about it. Ignorance of the law is of no excuse. If you use it and people come bitching at you, saying, "Oh, well, you shouldn't deserve this house. You didn't work hard enough." It's like, well, I'm sorry, but last time I checked, slavery is illegal, and 2, ignorance of the law is of no excuse. Not my fault if you didn't look for it.
Yeah. Well, and that's something that we talked about on the call that led us to this interview, was that, and something that I said earlier in the show, a lot of people don't know this information, and it takes people like yourself, Dean Clifford, and many others to bring it to our attention. Now, once it's brought to our attention, we can't just sit in our high chairs and be spoon-fed this information. We actually have to take it and do something with it and run with it. Yes, we can all go to each other and look for information from each other, and we can network together to help each other. But we can't look at one person and say, okay, you're the be-all, end-all of everything. Now give me everything that you've got, and you're going to help me. We have to help ourselves. We're so used to relying on a nanny state to do everything for us we have to learn to take responsibility for ourselves. We consider ourselves to be adults. We want to be free. So many people in this country mistakenly assume that we are free, and we're not. So therefore, take the power back into your hands and do something with it. Would you agree with what I just said?
Yeah. The thing is, people think that when people think that they're free and they're living in the system, just ask themselves that. What happens if the government outlaws protesting? Are you free anymore? Freedom can't be given or taken.
No. The other thing that one of the listeners is asking me to do is to provide a disclaimer. What works in one place may not work the same in another place. Those who want to be sovereign have to figure out by trial and error how to get things to work where you live. It's the degree of ignorance you are dealing with. So what may work in Canada may not necessarily work in the UK, the States, Australia, any of the Commonwealth countries. It's all process of elimination and trial and error. The other thing to look at is the fact that if you are in Canada, every province works a little bit differently than the other province. So do your homework, read up. There's reading that you have to do. You need to do your reading. And yes, I know Black's Dictionary is an awful lot of stuff that kind of makes you feel a little nauseous at times, but it's worth it. There was a fantastic link that was given out by Outpost 5, if I'm not mistaken, on the chat, and it's everything from I'm going to repost it in the Chatango chat, and I've put it up on my group for Lifting the Veil, and that's everything from Black's Law to a whole heaps of stuff. Derek, thank you so much for coming on the show today. This isn't going to be the last time my listeners are going to hear from you, because obviously this was just an introductory how you doing. I'm hoping to see you on Friday with Dean, yes?
Yeah, most definitely, yeah.
That sounds great. And then if anybody has any questions for me, please, by all means, email me at the station, which is freethinkradio@gmail.com. If you have any questions for Derek or Dean as well, please feel free to email the station again at freethinkradio@gmail.com. And if anybody has questions that are coming for Friday's show, by all means, again, send an email out there, send it on Facebook, send it to the group. It doesn't matter where you send it. If you want your question answered, I will do my best to get it out there. I also want to let everybody know that I've got Melinda from the Womb Sauna coming in to talk about reproductive female issues and treatments. I know it's a little bit off of the topic of what I've been talking about in the last couple of weeks, but tell your sisters, tell your mothers, tell your friends, this is something that's important that we need to be talking about. We need to know that there are other remedies other than hormone replacement therapies and other things like that we need to be looking into. So please tune into Wednesday's show where I'm going to have Melinda on from the Womb Sauna. Again, Derek, thanks so much for coming on, and I look forward to talking to you again on